Hey everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, February 8th, 2020. I keep wanting to say it's 2019, and I totally noticed that I hadn't corrected that on a couple, not all of them, but a couple of the older Discussing Tabletops. I'd accidentally not corrected that. Like last week's, when I switched it to February, I wrote in 2019. You know, I've had 2020 for other weeks. It's just that, still forgetting that, new year and all. But,
so now we have to watch 2020 every day?
Oh, yes, the news film. Yes. You brain fried me there for a second. I forgot that, news program.
Indubitably.
And I continue to have some form of plague which may never leave me. I don't know. Probably have to go see a doctor.
You are now one with the plague. Congratulations.
I mean, it's a lot better. But, we got an interesting docket for today. We're going to talk about D&D's Unearthed Arcana, the subclasses, Volume 2 that they put out. 3 more subclasses to talk about. Wizkids has announced a Bladerunner 2049 game that's coming out soon. Freely Press is doing the Mork Borg RPG. Mork. The King of Tokyo Dark Edition is coming out. The Wardlings RPG Campaign Guide by Renegade Game Studios. And then finally, we're going to talk about some Monopolies by USAopoly. Because we haven't had our chance to talk about USAopoly and their insanity in a while. In particular,
my only comment on both of them is why.
Goonies and Garbage Pail Kids. 80s are back, people. And USAopoly is bringing them to you. In Monopoly form. Screw pod form.
I want Alf Monopoly.
They probably already have it.
I want to buy property on Milmac.
That's a good question of whether they would have property on Milmac. They might not. They might have an Alf on Earth.
Okay, fine. Then I want to buy their garage. Where Alf lives.
I totally forgot there was an Alf video game. I tried to look if there was an Alf Monopoly, and there was an Alf video game for the Sega.
Well, there was... Remember, there was also the cartoon of Alf that did take place on Milmac.
Yes. Anyway, let's start with something in our wheelhouse of speaking, rather than getting distracted by Alf, which I was trying to. Unearthed Arcana for 2020, Subclasses Part 2. This is an interesting selection of them. It's spellcasters. We have Bard, Cleric, and Sorcerer. Which, the thing is, like, when you talk about those, like, Bard's the one that stands out because it's a 3rd level when you take a Bard college, and, like, the Cleric and Sorcerer, they're 1st level things, so they're very much more intrinsic to a character. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So hey, Bard, College of Creation is the one they're giving it, where they're giving existences to word sounds and harmonies and stuff, and creating, like, living potential.
I want a dancing item.
Yes, you find it. The note is a tiny object that is intangible and invulnerable, and last till the bardic inspiration is lost. You can create a note creature.
Well, that's the note of potential.
Yes.
But then underneath that is dancing item, which you get a large or smaller construct.
Well, that's later on. That's 6th level, where you can use your sort of like note abilities. Like
that's what I want.
You first get your note of potential, which is either destruction, protection, or integrity, which I think you choose whenever you get it.
Yeah, when you use your
bardic inspiration die. You
choose which one you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Destruction. Each other creature within 5 feet of you. Immediately after a creature rolls a bardic inspiration die to add it to an attack roll, the creature can expend the note to create a burst of sound.
Oh, I get it. The note is there, and when one of the effects happens, the note also does that.
Yes.
So, like, if I would use the Bardic Inspiration to attack, it becomes a Note of Destruction, and I do extra, like, thunder damage. If I use it for a save, it's the Note of Protection, and you gain temporary hit points. The Note of Integrity is if you use it for an ability check, you can roll Bardic Inspiration dice again and choose which roll to use.
Yeah.
So there's good use of it. And then you get the Animated Performance, where you can, like, give a larger, smaller, non-magical item, basically the dancing item stat block that they give in the thing.
Which is awesome. It's just kind of hilarious. Hey, Armoire! Start slamming that thing.
And then you can create a non-magical item and give it sort of like some stuff. You could create an item to use. So it's neat. It's interesting stuff.
It's almost like a bard and a my god, why can't I think of the name?
Oh.
Tinkerer, Artificer got together.
It doesn't feel like an Artificer at all, though. What it reminds me of, it's more like Fantasia.
Yeah. Okay,
and Mickey the Sorcerer animating the brooms and stuff with the music going along. And then the brooms are working and dancing and stuff, too. Yeah. That is what it feels like, except you do that as a bard.
Yes. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. You're the Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. Congratulations.
We got Cleric with the Unity domain.
Yeah, the Unity domain is an interesting one. They do give some deities and from the sources that they're from that they make sense in, which is cool. They give one from all the different campaigns. They give the thing is, they give traditional ones because they've got Greek and Norse. They give the racial ones with Elven, Dwarf, Halfling, Gnomish, and then they give the campaign settings with Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, and Greyhawk. I'm glad to see Dragonlance in there. Oh, and Emerald. I am glad to see Dragonlance in there. Not that I did a lot with Dragonlance, but it is like oh, cool. You know, they're keeping that in mind, at least with this.
Yeah. You get some domain spells, of course.
Yes. You get this.
They work together.
Emboldening Bond, where you can choose two willing creatures and create a magical bond between them. Where if you're within 30 feet of the bonded creature, you can roll a d4 and add the number to an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw.
Each creature can add the d4 no more than once per turn. The bond lasts for an hour or until you use this feature again.
Mm-hmm. And you only get it once per...
So you make two of your teammates a duo.
And they get some bonuses for being close to each other.
Yeah.
And you can expend a spell slot to use the Speecher again, or Long Rest, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you have the Channel Divinity is a shared burden, where you can have things take damage, distribute damage between them.
That's always nice. Protective Bond. While either creature chosen to the emboldening bond features within 30 feet of each other, a creature can use a reaction to grant resistance to all damage. Any other creature.
It's a very good one. I like the potent spellcasting, where you add your wisdom modifier to damage dealt with cleric cantrips.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, Enduring Unity, which it helps, like, if a chosen creature with the bond is reduced to 0 hit points, the bond partner gains a bunch of benefits, basically. So if one of the bond drops, you get advantage on basically all your rolls, resistance to all damage, and as an action, you can extend any number of hit dice, and then have them regain hit points like that.
Yeah. Also, during the time the other creature's at 0, the creature has advantage. The other one has advantage on attack rolls.
That's what I mean. That's what I said.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is when the other person's dropped.
Yeah.
You are like uber fighter for a while.
Yeah, and then you can be like, now you can come back.
Yeah. Man, it's a very interesting way of doing it. And I actually, you know, you can include yourself in the bond, which is cool. I would like to play a cleric like this with this bond ability. It's kind of an interesting idea of like basically making a pair of teammates and giving them really big bonuses. I like it. It's kind of cool.
I could definitely see it, like especially like with characters that might be siblings or partners in some way.
Yeah,
it'd really work. Like, okay, you guys have a special connection already, and your magic kind of weaves into that.
Yeah, it's very neat. Now for the sorcerers, we have Clockwork Soul, where you're basically turning to Mechanus and the Primus that oversees the place, and that's what you're making your bond with.
The manifestation of Mechanus is almost kind of like wild magic in a way, because you have a chart with 6 numbers. That can be a manifestation of Mechanus that kind of appears with you.
Yeah, like when you cast a spell. Like, some of them are pretty interesting, some of them are weird, like your skin glows gold and metallic sheen, your features become unearthly angular and geometric, your spellcasting focus takes the form of miniature spawning stone or other creation of Primus, ringing of clock can be heard by you and those affected by your spell.
Hands of a clock appears in your eyes.
Or a large spectral cogwheel is behind you hovering. It's like really... Yeah. It's kind of neat. It's kind of strange, too.
It actually makes me think of it like almost anime kind of thing.
Granted, they've got their clockwork spells, which have some interesting ones.
The first level ones don't ring out like clockwork to me, but like after that, a lot of them make sense. Like alarm protection from evil and good.
Well, remember, it's supposed to be
it's
a like lawful, and it's supposed to be like lawful neutral. So it's all like about balance.
But like find traps, heat metal, that makes sense.
Counter spell, I can understand, like, you know, going more mechanical, Glyph of Warding, Arcane Eye, the Resilient Sphere, Animate Objects, Wall of Force. There isn't a whole lot of selection, so I think it's like trying to figure out the best it possibly can on that list.
Yeah.
I like the Restore Balance. That's a really interesting one, as you can use a reaction to remove advantage or disadvantage to a creature.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's a really interesting like ability.
And you can use it a number of times equal to your charisma modifier.
Yeah. Granted, again, long rest to get them all back, but still.
At least you're most likely getting several uses of them.
Yeah, you could remove disadvantage to one of your teammates or advantage to an enemy.
Yeah. Hey, my barbarian just recklessly attacked. I'm going to remove that advantage that guy gets for attacking him back.
Yeah. So, like, the Bulwark of Law, then, is the next one. You can expend sorcery points to create a magical ward. And it represents a number of D8s.
So you can take less damage. Basically, depending on how many sorcery points, 1 to 5, you get that many D8s to roll. And when you get attack on you, you can roll... and you can expend up to how many dice you want and roll, and you take that much less damage.
Yeah, you basically get an 8 to 40 point barrier of well, technically it's on maximum. Yeah. You know, 8 to 40 point maximum dice, you know, that you can absorb that amount of damage, and you can split those dice up as you need too, which is the good thing too.
Yeah. Like, someone rolls a critical. Oh, I might want to use a few of these dice.
Like, the Trance of Order, where for the next minute, attacks can't benefit from advantage against you, and whenever you make an attack ability or saving throw, you treat a roll of 9 or lower as 10 on the D20. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of like... That's a very interesting thing where it's like, I can't roll less than a 10 for a minute.
Especially if you're doing something with, like, checks, and you want to be sure to try to pass it, you can be like, okay, I'm not going to be able to roll under a 10. I have a really good shot at this now.
And you can use sorcery points to regain it. 5 of them.
Yeah.
And considering that the basic rules of sorcery points is you can trade spells for sorcery points or sorcery points for spells back and forth, you can use this a bunch of times. Like, I could see maybe, like, that being very useful also in, like, a combat sorcerer build. Which is something that we probably don't see a lot in 5th edition, just for the nature of it. I think...
Or a rogue sorcerer.
Well, I was thinking of just sticking with pure sorcerer rather than multi-classing. You know, a combat sorcerer a sorcerer that's made for, like, melee. That maybe you take, like, a 14 strength or something. So you're made for getting into melee. You know,
right.
maybe you're playing an elf so that you have, like, longsword proficiency and, like, some weapons that are actually pretty, like, decent or something. Or even, like, another race that might have some weapons, like a dwarf and having some axes or something.
Yeah, that would definitely work too. Yeah,
and then maybe focusing on, like, kind of buff and like more short range attack spells or something, and then using all these abilities together would kind of be very interesting. And then the 18th level one is you can summon a spirit that restore balance around you.
Oh god, the spirit can restore up to 100 hit points divided as you choose among the number of creatures of your choice in a cube.
Mm-hmm.
Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired, and every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects of your choice in the cube.
And it's another one that you can get back with 7 sorcerer points, so that's really cool.
That's really good.
Yes.
That'd also be really good in, like, a seafaring campaign, too.
Mm-hmm. You can, like, heal a crew.
Repair part of the...
Or repair part of the ship.
Crew and repair part of the ship. Like, oh, our hull's taking a lot of damage.
Also, I like the idea of it that if I would use it, I could basically throw it down and remove all the buff spells from a group of people.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be very useful, too. It's like, oh, we're fighting the Big Nasty. Hey, Big Nasty, guess what?
Yeah. All of these are very interesting. I think, like, these subclasses that they've had these past 2 months have been really good. These are very interesting and have very cool flavor to them. I would say the cleric
and the sorcerer probably would be the most two useful.
Yes.
Not that the bard's not cool, but I think that's more of a flavor thing.
Yes, I feel the bard. I will definitely agree with that one. That the bard has a lot more flavor to it than. Let me just readjust that a little bit. It has a bigger flavor to it, and it's an interesting flavor. As I said, it's like being Mickey from Fantasia, summoning the things, and that's kind of neat. But yes, it doesn't have the usefulness feel of both the cleric and the sorcerer. Like the cleric, as I said, like you can turn a pair of people into a very well bonded machine that, like, really does a lot of good bonuses for them.
Yeah.
And
the bard I could see useful maybe in, like, castles and areas where there's a lot of stuff that you might be able to make come to life.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're out in the middle of a field...
And I can think of a couple of, like, really good builds for the Clockwork Soul too. That would be really interesting. Yeah. I would think playing, like, I would see, like, a really cool idea for, like, a dwarven sorcerer who, you know, has this axe or something and is going around just chopping the crap out of people as a sorcerer, you know? Focus on strength, constitution, and charisma. And call it a day.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting builds you could do with that.
Yeah, definitely. I really like a lot of what they're kind of throwing together here. And I'm wondering if they're going to do more of these. Because this is like part 2, but they haven't necessarily said how many parts they're going to do for the subclass groups. Yeah, because it was... Path of the Beast, Way of Mercy, and Oath of Watchers for Paladins, and O Noble Genie for Warlock, which were all very interesting too.
Yeah.
Those.
So I would assume there'd be one more, at least one more, then, because to finish up the other classes.
Well, haven't hit on all of them yet. Haven't hit Ranger, Rogue, or Fighter.
Yeah.
So that might be.
So it'd probably be a part 3, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That they might do one part for each of them. definitely could see that being something that they're going to do to get a subclass for each of them.
Yeah.
I would be...
Not that they haven't had subclasses for the other ones and other things, but...
It's true.
Hell, I'm playing one.
Wizard. Wizard, I don't know if there's much else to do. Like, I don't know how many wizard extra stuff there is beyond the normal schools, you know? This is school specialization.
They might add a new school.
Or do just a different type of specialization that's equivalent to a school.
Yeah.
So that there might be 4 in the next one. I don't know. We'll have to see. If they do another one or not. We'll have to see next month in March what their plans are to continue this or not. But
right.
I think this is... I like this one better than the last one. The last one, I did like the stuff in them, but this one definitely stands out in my mind as very interesting subclasses. And ones that I feel like I would love to play.
Yeah.
But we should move on because we do have some other stuff to talk about. So Wizkids has made an announcement for a Bladerunner game. Let me throw up this into view here. Bladerunner 2040 Nexus Protocol. It's a hidden
2049.
Bladerunner 2049 Nexus Protocol. It's a hidden identity game. 3 to 6 players taking the role of Blade Runners, joining Deckard to hunt down replicants that remain at large. A replicant could be players or Deckard himself. You have a limited number of rounds to identify the replicant. Players interrogate witnesses and record their evidence cards and reveal the replicants' identities. But you have to act quickly because the game ends before any player has 2 or 3 of the replicants' evidence cards in their case file. The replicant escapes.
It's all playtime is only like estimated to be 30 minutes, which is nice. It's a quick game.
Yes, and for hidden identity games, those can usually take longer. So a hidden identity game that's quick is nice.
But that also might be a 30-minute estimate for the 3-player. Because I would think 6 players probably going to be a little longer.
True. I will definitely agree. Because, and the thing is, it's still a 3 to 6 player game, so you need at least 3 players for it. That's another one of those disadvantages in most of these games, is that you do have a pretty... 3 players is not impossible, but it is a tough minimum sometime.
Yeah. I will be honest, I have actually never seen Blade Runner.
I saw the original many, many years ago. It has been quite a while.
I know the basis of the plot, but I've never actually watched it.
I haven't seen the new one. I just never got around to seeing the new one. And again, like, it has been probably well over 20 years since I saw the first one, and I remember bits of it. I would have to watch it again if you want me to, like, talk about Blade Runner. That's the definite unfortunate thing I have to say about it for me. It does seem to have a lot of parts in comparison to your average kind of hidden identity game. Like, if I would take something like Resistance in comparison, Resistance is very simple in comparison to this one, it seems. Like,
or even, like, Werewolf.
Yeah. This one feels like it's somewhere in between a card game and a hidden identity game. Which is, I think, for the little better. Just because it's a little bit more interesting. I'm guessing there's...
It's more card, I think, though, because it looks like you have a player token.
There's evidence cards, dead end cards, witness cards. You got your standees, your evidence tags.
But it's only estimated to be $24.99, which isn't a bad price.
No. That's what they're kind of guessing. It says it's 43 cards, 6 stands with the base, 30 plus evidence tags for $25. It's not bad for a little game like this. And I mean, they're using the Blade Runner name in an interesting way because that's one of the things that I'm guessing both of us do know about Blade Runner. It's all about, like, replicants bad, grr, or like,
replicants are basically androids.
And hunting them down, it makes it and it feels like it would be very Blade Runner-y. And the fact that Deckard could be the replicant, because that's one of those things that I don't know if they ever answered it in the second movie, but I think that was one of those things at the end of the movie is you never knew if he was or not kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I recall from a lot of discussions about it. But no, it's neat. Cool to see it. I'm wondering if there's a Bladerunner anniversary or something, or again, it could just be like they were working on this and they're finally getting it out now. It's hard to say sometimes. But if you're a fan of Bladerunner or a fan of hidden identity games, this might be going to check out. They're aiming it for April right now, so it's coming out soon. They're announcing it a couple of months ahead of time, it looks like. So keep an eye out for it in your game stores if you're interested in Bladerunner. So let me cough for a second as we switch gears to yet another interesting announcement. The blackened art punk RPG Mork Borg is coming out February 25th. I am probably not saying this correctly at all.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Does that mean Mork and a Borg got it on?
Yes. That, in fact, is exactly what it means. Mork from Mork and Mindy found this nice Borg lady, and they fell in love.
Borg Queen?
No, because she's a bitch.
Okay.
And
you never know. I mean, she did try to get it on with Data.
Yeah, but she used sexy time as a tool rather than actually wanting it.
Yeah, well.
She's like, look, you can enjoy some of the pleasures of things, which brings to question what the heck she's doing with her slaves. I mean, her collective.
You don't want to know.
Uh-huh.
You just see, a...
Also, she is just a brain and spine with mechanical body.
Well, there's some flesh on it.
On her head.
No, there's some flesh on there's a little bit of flesh around the neck and stuff.
Well, that's why it's
it's
the spine, remember? It's the spine, it's the top part, It's like, you got some shoulders in there, lady. That's it.
You never know, maybe they found a way to replicate other parts.
So apparently, this was a Kickstarter campaign that was funded in 66.6 minutes. And this is getting the full worldwide release of it. So I'm guessing it's been to the Kickstarter backers. Great. And Free League Press they call it a pitch black apocalyptic RPG fantasy about lost souls and fools seeking redemptions for forgiveness and riches in a bleak and decaying world. That sounds so pleasant. I guess it's got a lot of that like heavy metal, dark fantasy kind of thing going on for it.
Yeah, a brief look at the dying world from a 200 basilisk Gothic cathedral in Glangala and blood countless Athena's limestone palace.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Powers that you bend reality.
I'm gonna take another hog. Because this coffee is going away today. It's been bad. It's been worse today. I was a little better yesterday. I don't know. Maybe something is in the air. In the house.
Oh god, Game Master tools such as tables for corpse plundering.
And I thought my random bar names was great, but corpse plundering, there's your tables. Look, I like random generating tables. They are very fun. It's one of the reasons I love the Pathfinder ones. I think D&D has a few really good ones in their D&D.
That's why I love Don John's site for random treasure and random weird items.
Those are way too weird.
Well, those were they were specifically strange magic items.
Yes, I understand. They were very weird.
But it fits a gnome game.
It does. I am not arguing with that.
Like a club that makes people dance when you hit them.
Yeah. So it's in the OSR genre, which...
And it's being published in Swedish and English.
Yeah. It's the old school revival genre. So that's what the OSR genre is. Since my brain has to, figured that out and Googled it. The rules are made to be compatible with other major fantasy role-playing games. So effectively,
like Tales from the Loop. Forbidden Lands.
I'm sure probably you could adapt it to some other ones.
Yeah, Mutant Year Zero and Coriolis.
Yeah.
Oh, and also Sim.
Oh, those are their games. That's their games.
But it's saying it's compatible with those time periods in their games.
Where's it say that on the thing?
Oh no, that's I'm sorry, our game range. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
they
I was thinking I was reading wrong.
Because it's a look into the world, the calendar of Nimbarul, 20 occult powers that let you bend reality, optional rules to bring more depth into the game, 12 creatures
that's where
to
I
be
found
murdered.
the others.
Yeah.
Corpse plundering.
But I think what they're saying by the most major other fantasy role-playing games is you could effectively, easily make this compatible with something like D&D. It's probably some form of a D20 system. Or it could be like a 2D20 system. I don't know. Either would work with adapting it. I have to remember what other dice system that freely uses very often. Like with Coriolis and Mutant League Zero and stuff.
They do also give you an introductory dungeon crawl scenario called Rot Black Sludge, where you investigate the forgotten part of the Shadow King's enormous ruined palace. You get cannibal warlocks, poison peddlers, and from beyond the void, and hungry gutworms await.
Pleasant.
Hungry gutworms.
Just what I needed, some hungry gutworms. Yay!
To go with your cannibal warlock.
Yes.
What?
Because that is the thing that you have to go along with.
And poison peddlers.
Yes.
Maybe the poison peddlers give you gutworms.
The chances exist. But, so yeah.
I always think of you highly.
It's interesting. The Free League Prince stuff. Mork Borg, or Mork Borg.
It's probably Mork.
It's got an umlaut,
Mork.
but I don't know what language. If it's
Swedish.
Is it Swedish?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
why it's being published in Swedish and English.
Oh, because the umlaut can be German too.
Yeah, no,
I missed that it was being published in Swedish and English.
It's Swedish. Well, if you remember, like, the other games that I mentioned that they publish, those were Swedish also based too.
Let's try something here. Damn it. Okay. Okay. It's Mork. Mork Borg. Yes, the M-O-R is pronounced like mur and murder. So it's Mork Borg. And it's Borg. It's Borg like, in Star Trek.
Well, and even if you remember in the one Star Trek, it was one of the next gen movies. I can't think when they went in the past. First Contact.
First Contact. Yes, damn it.
The one lady says the Borg sounds Swedish.
So it's Mork Borg, but it's spelled M-O umlaut R-K. Mork Borg. But Mork Borg, coming out on the 25th. So, like, 2 weeks away? About? Something like that. So it's very, a little more than 2 weeks away. It's coming out for the worldwide release. And if you were a Kickstarter backer for the Kickstarter, you probably already have it. I'm 95% sure, because it's been fully funded, and if it's coming to a worldwide release, normally the backers already have it. So, congratulations, backers. You have your game. How much is the PDF? Oh, that's the announcement to be released in PDF form. I don't need to download the announcement. I was just curious how much the game cost. Whatever. Anyway, coming out soon. Merk Borg. I like trying to say it over and over again. And
Mork Borg.
It fails so many times when I try to say it. But let's move on, though, because we do have a couple more topics that we want to hit into. And the next one is King of Tokyo. Sorry, I was adjusting a image there.
Yes.
Dark Edition.
I'm trying to read their site, but the colors they chose are not very...
It is gray on yellow.
Yeah, it should be black.
Yellow...
It would make it easier
Yellow
to read.
has yellow as their thing, so it's the opposite of their title, of their little thing.
Which I understand, but then put black writing, not
It
gray.
should have... Yes, it should have been black instead of gray. It's more than a collector's edition of King of Tokyo is the thing. It's a new look, and like some new art, and also some new and twisted mechanics, a wickedness mechanic. So, like, it is a different edition. It is a little bit of a collector's edition, but it's also like... How's a great way of describing this? Because it's like, it's the similar game, but also, like, with new things added in. So it's almost like...
It's an expansion, almost.
I'd say it's more like a new edition. Kind of
It's a new edition.
Kind of like, the 4th edition of Arkham Horror came out recently. And it's got some changes to it. This is a little bit of the same way, even though I would say it's somewhere in between a new edition, because it's a lot of the same, but new artwork and a new mechanic.
Yeah.
So it's like a
Basically, it's less about wanting to be king and more wanting to be a giant dick.
Mm-hmm. It's your creatures are bad guys kind of thing. So it's like you're very like evil, wicked monsters, and they got a new gauge on the other side of the thing.
Of your wickedness.
Mm-hmm.
And the higher your wickedness, the more devastating your powers.
Yeah. So there's some interesting things to it. There's a 2-player variant that's going to be coming out. So that's a little bit nice, too, because I think the game itself was very 3-player.
Here's an interesting thing. You might not want to reroll your 1s anymore. Triple 1 gives you 2 wickedness points.
So it only gives you, like, 1 point, but it would give you some wickedness.
Yeah, it would give you 2 wickedness, where triple 2s gives you only 1 wicked point.
Yeah.
So getting 3 1s is actually not a bad thing now.
Yeah, if you want to focus on some of your wickedness and stuff, too. So there's a lot more balancing of the mechanics that way, I think, too. Because it was very, like, unless you just couldn't re-roll anymore, you never took 1s, kind of thing. They were always lame, Because there's a very Yahtziness to King of Tokyo, if you don't know, because you're supposed to roll dice a couple of times, and whatever you roll, you get stuff on. And that can make a difference on if you're attacking, gaining health, gaining energy, or gaining points. But yeah. The 2-player version of it, I guess we'll see about that too, how well that works out. And that's kind of nice. Again, it's, as much as it's not terribly difficult to get 3 people together very often, sometimes you just have 2. And there's just certain games you can't play, and I'm interested to see if it would... The way that they set up 2-player in King of Tokyo Dark Edition, is it good enough? I'm sure that they figured out a way to have you play King of Tokyo with 2 players. Great. It's a lot of games that have player recommendations. It might say 2 to 5 players.
Okay,
Best with 4.
So with a 2-player game, the monster who enters Tokyo gains 1 energy charge instead of a victory point. The goal is no longer to be the first to enter Tokyo and tranquilly gain victory points while your opponent wears himself out trying to displace you. Well, now it's a dynamic focus on the cards to create a game that could go either way with an explosive energy.
Okay, so it's probably more about beating up your opponent kind of thing.
Yeah.
Rather than, gaining victory points. Which I guess is a good way of doing it. Hello, the Fallen. Welcome. So, definitely, I'm interested in King of Tokyo Dark Edition. I know, as someone that never bought a version of King of Tokyo, maybe this is the one I would get if I get one finally.
Yeah, it is. It looks really good.
Yeah, and, you know, it's... If you have King of Tokyo, I'll say, like, you could consider it, but it's, again...
It's a variant play, so if this really entices you, then definitely.
Yeah, if you're a really big fan of King of Tokyo.
Yeah. Now they need to make, after this comes out, then they need to make the Giant Edition.
Look, I just love that when we're at a couple of conventions, we can see that they have the Giant King of Tokyo, where it's just like, where it's people-sized. And you have, like, the dice, which are, like, they're giant boxes. It's just so silly and interesting. End of April, though, for Dark Edition, so it's coming very soon. A couple months away. Don't have to wait long to check it out and try the wickedness mechanics for yourself, if it really does interest you. So, that's a good one. Let's talk about an RPG, which I think we've... The thing is, I'm fairly certain we've briefly discussed Wardlings in the past. So it's an RPG that is actually a collaboration between Renegade Game Studios and Wizkids.
I'm trying to figure out why so many sites, these game sites, are using gray writing on top of light-colored backgrounds. Where I just have to highlight the text and read it comfortably. Websites, stop using similar colors with your writing.
Okay, so there had been an announcement some point last year that Wizkids was going to work with Renegade Game Studios to bring Wardlings into existence. It's a 5th edition compatible role-playing supplement. So it's 5th edition D&D. It's their own version of a world with it. They have an industry veteran who's working on it, Explore Surgeries. It's a lot about mystical animal companions, enhancing the adventures. So they have a campaign guide, which is their big release on it now that they have. Bringing the campaign setting to life. It's about, like, youths uncorrupted by the vices and responsibilities of elders are able to perceive magical creatures and the events in the world around them where adults can't. And children of saviors of the land who go on epic quests to protect the realm. And so it's like holding on to the virtues of youth have been never more imperative. So I'm guessing there's probably going to be a mechanic about, like, being forced to grow up, not only physically but mentally, and trying to retain that in order to retain your, like, heroic statics in an epic world where, because you are a youth, you can see the magical energies and interact with it. That might be... I'm
wondering if this is also more geared to younger players.
I feel like it is. Now, granted...
Just with the artwork and the wording, it seems like it might be.
They do say it's 10 plus, though, for ages. So I'm guessing it's gonna be on that younger but not super young. It's that, like...
Preteen to teen.
Yeah, preteen to teen, where it's supposed to be getting into that... It is getting into that time period where people are changing a lot. It's the puberty kind of time period and growing up a lot. And so that's why I feel like it probably is focused on that. I could see playing this as just older people, too. You know?
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying you couldn't, but I think it might be more geared towards a younger audience.
Yeah. Got character creation options, new core class options, magic systems for the Wardling Familiar, overview of the Maya lands, its inhabitants, some new backgrounds, powerful spells, monsters, and again, it's fully compatible with 5th edition of D&D. I love how, like, every place that you see they call it compatible with 5th edition, they call it the world's greatest role-playing game, they don't mention Dungeons & Dragons exactly. I think that's got to have something to do with the open license of D&D. Yeah,
they probably can't mention Dungeons & Dragons directly, but...
They have it in quotations of the world's greatest role-playing game, which is probably somewhere someone in Wizards said that, you know?
Yeah. And saying 5th edition, it kind of... it hints enough that, hey, it's D&D compatible without directly saying it's D&D compatible.
It's a tricky thing that I've been noticing a lot lately. So they got pre-orders for local game stores. It's the Warbinks campaign guide. They're aiming for a May release. This is an interesting one because, like, the idea of younger characters doesn't come up a lot. Like, I've considered having, like, or talked with people about doing D&D games where your characters are on the younger side, like teenage or something. Like, also, like, school-based adventures. Like, games like Besom, where you're set in an anime world, it makes sense sometimes for kids. Something like in D&D, being a youth doesn't always come up a lot and make sense. Unless it's specifically, like, you're building a storyline, like, it's a college of, like, wizards and stuff for very young spellcasters, you know, something like that.
Right, or you're just happening to play in a race that matures younger.
Yeah. Something like that.
No,
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you're right, because the Dark Matter book I have, that's 5e compatible.
Mm-hmm.
It even says, dive into science fiction for the world's greatest role-playing game, and then has a little symbol in the bottom right corner that says 5e compatible.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mention D&D at all.
What you have to remember, 3rd edition was D20. They used that as their kind of symbolism, so it was D20 compatible.
Right.
So this has to be the version of that for 5th edition.
Yeah. And since they had the open license, it's like, okay, we allow you to publish it, but it's probably part of how, because they have to be so different, they can't use certain things. So it's probably part of that of, okay, this is our way of saying, yes, this is compatible with that system, but
it's basically saying, you need this to play, but you're not playing this directly. Yeah. It's the trick of it. It's a very interesting trick. No, I think this would be a very interesting game system to play. Definitely the entire idea that, like, as I said, that idea of staying young versus becoming an adult that probably is going to be facing characters in this campaign setting is something that'd be very interesting to explore. It's very good storytelling stuff, and I could see very good storytelling and role-playing potential as a dungeon master. I can see that. / game master.
I think also it would be a good tool if you're trying to get younger people into role-playing.
Oh, yeah. If you got these people in that 10-plus age range, I could definitely see this being a very good way of kind of introducing them into it, keeping it simple but interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Now to the weirdness.
We do have one other major topic left. I was thinking about which one. I'm just going to throw up the Goonies one here. So, over the past couple of weeks, because USAopoly has an awful website, and I missed this for last week's show.
Okay, wait. I just have one thing to say, because this is interesting.
Uh-huh.
Both of these are 1985.
That makes sense. They're 35th anniversaries, effectively.
Because I just noticed that with the Goonies, it specifically says the 19 classic movie, and I looked up earlier about the other one with the Garbage Pail Kids. Those came out in 1985 as well.
So, Goonies Never Say Die is Warner Brothers Consumer Products and the USAopoly team are teaming up for a Monopoly version of Goonies, the 1985's classic. Ooh, Blades in the Dark. We'll answer that on our deeper discussion. I'll add that into how we feel about Blades in the Dark. So, thanks for that. That's a good one to ask, Fallen. So if you don't know about the Goonies, why not? It's a great movie. I definitely say it's one of my favorite cult classics. Steven Spielberg, 1985. It's about a group of kids on a town in, I think, Maine? Like a small town, or Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Oregon. Yeah. Where it's like parts of it are going to be bulldozed for a golf course, and they go on this crazy adventure for pirate treasure and they get chased after by, like, basically mobsters. So you vie for control of One-Eyed Willie's cabin, the Pirate Ship Cavern, Sloth's Room, Pit of Spikes, and 80 other memorable locations, and try to bankrupt your opponents. I don't know how this fits in with Monopoly necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of Monopolies that are just themed and Monopoly. And I can understand that. And that might be what this ends up being. I'm interested if they're doing anything different or if it's just pure Monopoly on it. Just with a Goonies coding to it.
I'm guessing that's probably what it's going to be more.
Because we've seen for the USAopoly, there has been a couple of Monopolies that are actually...
Denise.
Yeah. She's a bit all, maybe venturing around the venture for the treasure, because it might be treasure-based for, like, the money you're earning, too. I'm just curious, like, they don't say a lot right now. We know it's coming out late spring. It's supposed to be good for fans. It's $40. There have been a couple of Monopolies where they've changed things slightly enough to make it feel a little bit more like the thing that they're based on. It's sort of like there's others that they don't try at all, and I'm curious which one this is going to aim towards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the other one with the Garbage Pail Kids is going to be pretty much just Garbage Pail Kid themed Monopoly.
Because they're teaming up with Tops, the card people, to create a Garbage Pail Kids Monopoly also. Also 35th anniversary. So apparently both of these are for his 35th anniversary. I'm not going to throw up the Garbage Pail Kids one. I'm just not going to bother changing it.
I looked it up. They still are printing Garbage Pail Kids.
I don't know. Like, Goonies I understand a lot more than Garbage Pail Kids, because Goonies is in my mind. Garbage Pail Kids I know about because born in the 80s.
We lived through that time period?
Yeah. But it was always nothing that I really thought was neat. It always was just... Again,
they're
it's
just
like
disgusting characters.
Well, again, it's like there's the people that love gross out humor and hate gross out humor, and the people are in between. Yeah. I feel like I'm in between. I'm
in between too. Yeah. It's like it doesn't bother me, but it's not something I'm like, oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah, I can take a level of gross out humor, but they can easily go too far, and I'm like, yeah, you lost me. You lost me with it. It's too much. There's like certain like movies I can point out and be like, I didn't like it because the humor was too stupid.
Oh, don't forget, there was a Garbage Pail Kids movie that was horrible.
Oh, God, yes. Yes, there was. So if you're a fan of Garbage Pail Kids, they've got artist Joe Simcoe. I guess he's a fan favorite artist that's did a lot of the stuff for Garbage Pail Kids. He's doing a lot of the Monopoly tops and stuff. So you're collecting iconic characters. So it seems like you've got your movers, and rather than locations, it's characters you're collecting, like sets of almost. Yeah, there are cards in the 60s, 80s, and 90s.
There's a little change there.
Yeah.
God, I'm looking up some of the cards. They have a Pennywise one coming out of a toilet called Plungin' Penny.
Again, like, I feel like when we're talking about, like, Goonies Monopoly, we could change things around a little bit. Maybe, like, with, like, the community chest cards and stuff, you can add a little bit more changes that way.
Yeah, they could be, like, events from the movie, basically.
Yeah, and they might do stuff more than just, like, money and things, too, a little bit, or something, They could do some interesting stuff with that. I see that a lot more as possibility than the Garbage Pail Kids. Garbage Pail Kids is just going to be fancy coat Monopoly. I'm curious if they're doing anything different with the Goonies, though. So that's what I would like to see if they do. Not that I play a lot of Monopoly. I don't mind a game of Monopoly here and there. But
yeah, it's been a while.
I think the last time I played with my family, because I have where the heck is it? Somewhere around here, I have Catopoly, which my mom got me, like, forever ago. She got it a long time ago. I mean, like, a long time ago. Like, probably when I was, like, late teens, early 20s, I got that. And I'm in my 30s now, so ages ago.
I have Star Trek and Lords of the Rings.
I don't think either of them do anything different, though. Do they?
No, it's just more the theme.
I remember I've got some of these board games over here. I've got like a bunch of classics too over in the corner that I don't ever play. But anyway, yeah. So if you're a big fan of Monopoly and or Goonies / Garbage Pail Kids, I mean, you got some options coming out. And again, like the Goonies one, I'd say for more or less, take a look at it a little bit more and see if there is something different about it, if it's just the same rules or not. I'm 99% sure the Garbage Pail Kids will just be Monopoly with a fancy coat. But the Goonies one, maybe a little different. I'm curious if they do or not. I really am. So that does take us to our regular segments. So again, like we've been pretty busy with stuff, so we haven't had a deeper discussion. So we do have a couple of games that we do have to do some good reviews for. We will be doing it.
Yes.
Let's talk about Kickstarter Korner. Do you have a Kickstarter for us this week, Joe?
I do not, unfortunately.
I don't either, unfortunately. I could probably grab one quickly, but I think this week I'm just going to skip it because...
there wasn't anything that jumped out at me this week.
Nothing, same for me, and I've been a kind of, like, still sick, and today I had, like, a headache this morning that, fortunately enough, pills has helped with a lot, so I was getting together the docket a little late, even. Docket and food was a little late, so, it's been a little bit of a delay today.
Yeah, so I was scrolling through and I just didn't see anything that really
jumped out.
Hey, talked about this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have weeks like that.
Well, like when I was going through, there was a couple of like interesting ones, but nothing that screamed, "Let's talk about it." Like there's like a roller hockey RPG. I mean, that's weird, but. Because I often talk about a lot of weird RPGs that are up on Kickstarter, or interesting RPGs, somewhere in between the two of them. That's weird. I don't think I want to talk about it that much. So I'll just give a shout out to it. Sure. You know what? Let me quickly get to the link to it. It's a roller derby one. It exists. It's funded. Derpy drama. So it's skating and the roller derby bouts. There's a link to it. If you're interested in roller derby, it's at least funded. It's an RPG. I have no idea how that's going to work. Arcana Tabletop?
Interesting. Yeah. I know people who do roller derby.
That is interesting. I do not know anybody that does roller derby. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
So last week we started with we did end up playing a little bit of
Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Dungeon Crawl Classics. I started playing an adventure with a couple of players, with Joe, his fiance, and our one friend James. Going through one of the pre-made adventures, going into a town which has been sacrificing people to some kind of hound, which they did manage to defeat, but then they learned that it comes back the next night.
Yes.
Which was an unfortunate thing. They're like, ooh. Apparently,
and I'm pretty sure that the mayors or whatever sorcerer guy is in on it.
There's a lot of rumors going around town, and as I said, you made friends with a bard that knows most of the rumors, but as he said, like, these are just the things I've been hearing around town. Up to you.
Well, we also discovered there was a box within the selection box of who they're going to sacrifice that kind of points towards, they are purposely picking people.
Yes, it looks as if the mayor has been choosing people to sacrifice to the creature, because apparently either it was killing people every night, Or every 3 nights they would sacrifice people. Their choice. They went for the sacrifice. Kept the numbers of deaths down.
Yeah. Also, we don't know if it's the mayor who's in on it, or if it's his oracle. Because if you think about it, maybe the oracle is stuffing the ballot box.
He could just set it up that that's how the mayor draws it out.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on that's mysterious, and there's a horrible monster, sacrifices. It's an interesting storyline. And you have heard of a couple of places that maybe might be neat to check out, too. So a lot of rumors went on. And then we didn't do anything Sunday. On Monday, we did a little bit more of Pathfinder 2nd Edition with our off-stream gaming group also. We've got people that we're online. We just do it off a stream game just to test out Pathfinder 2nd Edition. You guys
and hang out with old friends.
Mm-hmm. You guys finished up exploring the one crypt area. You successfully kind of found as much as you were going to find, it seems, in there.
Without walking through fire.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you could have ventured through that wall of fire.
I tried with an invisible servant or unseen servant, and then
it just does a lot of d8s.
Yes, and he went poof, and we're like, okay, we don't want to go poof.
You might be able to live through the lot of d8s.
Yeah, no.
Though, again, like, it's a wall of fire, so you can't really see
We
through it.
don't even know if there's anything on the other side,
You
so we
don't!
might just walk into fire for no reason.
And burn! And probably die! It's fun.
Yeah.
Then, last Tuesday, I had Records of Evil, in which they pretty much finished up their old cult hangout. They gathered together a number of magic items and a couple unique items. It seems like the cult had been building up some, like, evil, devil-related items. A couple of them which are particularly dangerous and very unusable. Like, they have things like they have a minor artifact which can summon the services of a Lord of Hell. The problem is it's sealed in a special container right now, but as soon as you touch it with your hand in order to even use it, all of the Lords of Hell become aware of your existence.
Not good.
And they serve as Modius, the ruler of Hell. The other lords, they are in their positions, but often covet powers for other things and have their own agendas. So it's more like that, like, trade-off thing of using it. And there's a couple other things that have, like, are interesting, but are also dangerous to use. And so they have an interesting collection of, like, some magic items that they got together from their old place. And they managed to not get themselves killed and find some stuff out. Though they are incidentally also summoning an army of devils, slowly but surely. And the problem is they also warn that if they show up, other outer world armies might show up too.
Fun.
Yeah. They said, come back in a couple of months and you'll have an army. Though, you know, some other friends might show up. You know, we could have a blood war here. It seems like a good place. Oh, they also... Who was... God. Made a deal with someone that wants to... made friends with a skeletal naga that they freed from control, and it wants to murder a bunch of Yanti in revenge. But it also has something they need, so that's their kind of next quest. It's an interesting one. When you're lawful evil cult members of Asmodeus, it's interesting. They've at least taken steps towards rebuilding their cult, enacting their ritual to summon an aspect of Asmodeus to the world itself in a roundabout way so that it cheats the laws that prevent it in the universe. Yeah. Anyway, and then we had Legacies of Kain, in which they went to Hawaii. And they're vampires, so, I mean, you didn't really enjoy the sun. They're renting out an entire hotel. They've assembled a group of supernatural beings for an auction. There is a cast of characters that there are friends, enemies, and people they probably don't want to be either. Yeah. There's definitely, like, this list of people that I gave them that, like, as Worm said, there's a lot of people on this list, and I'm like, there are.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of moving parts that's probably hard for their characters to keep track of. Who to not piss off, and who to they might piss off.
In a bad mood for something.
So, there's a lot going on. And then we had Children of Wrath. That was an interesting one.
Yes. Children of Wrath was interesting this week. We made a new friend who's angelic.
Yes.
Still a little wary of her.
Mm-hmm.
And we befriended some hick villagers.
Not really made friends. They still hate you. They just hate you less.
They're not going to sacrifice us. How's that?
To their Dragon Lord who showed up.
Yes.
And as on stream, I got down Colossal Red Dragon because I'm like, this is comparatively what shows up above you.
Yes. Someone we don't want to piss off, who unfortunately might already be pissed off.
Yes, because your employer escorted his daughter from the land. Many years ago. They parted ways in amicable terms. She got into a relationship. He's had other relationships. He just doesn't have stable relationships.
Yeah, well. And he's off talking to some people right now who he's slept with their mother.
Yeah, one of them. He's also got the elder there who totally is just an elder of the village. So yeah, that's gonna be an interesting time. So let's talk about Consult the Table. We had a question of what we think about Blades in the Dark. I think we might have talked about this at one point in time.
Yes, I don't remember much about it.
Unfortunately, it has been a while since we've talked about it. I kind of had to look it up again a little bit here while we were in our discussions just to remember it. I remember when we were talking about this. It was an interesting system because it's a lot more about. It's roguish. It's a roguish system. You know, it's got like Industrial Fantasy City, which I'm sure like Vaughn's aware of because he kind of brought it up. I would definitely like to do some of it at some point in time. It's on my massive list of probably RPGs to try at some point in my existence before I die.
It's really interesting. I mean, I was re-looking over it too. I love rogues,
yes.
So I would love to try the system.
I'm a good fan of it too. Yeah, no. It's one I definitely think we should, like, again, on the list to check out at some point in time. Because I remember Evil Hat Productions, we've talked to them before. I think we've talked to them at one of the PAXs at one point in time.
I believe so.
Yeah, but we didn't have a chance to talk to them on the show here, unfortunately, as of yet. Again, like, there's a lot of people that we've talked to that it would be nice to talk to on the show. Just got to do it some point in time. Again, like this weekend, maybe I'll throw out a bunch of emails. I'll try to get that in my brain. It's just got to sit myself down and email.
Yeah, and the price for it's not too bad. It's only $30.
No, it's not bad for a game. But like for hardcover or digital format, so it's neat.
Yeah.
Definitely one that I would have to dive deep into a little bit more at some point in time. But yes, if there's any other questions ever that you guys need to ask about something, about what we think about something, what we know about something, all etc., from the tabletop world to the nerd world, just go ahead and throw it in the chat at some point in time, or description of videos when they go up on YouTube. Next Monday, videos should be coming back up on YouTube. I was setting up a backlog and getting it set up. That's why it didn't come out this week. because I was making sure everything was ready. And apparently the Discussing Tabletops, for whatever reason, in the new version of Lightworks, don't edit the same way. So that's a thing. I have a bunch of them, but there might be a couple unedited Discussing Tabletops coming up. That just means it's a little stuff at the front and back, unfortunately. And I'll just have to mention, like, starts officially at this number. Or I'll have to re-download it from Twitch if I got a copy of it there. For whatever reason, the format that I recorded on here on OBS isn't working right now with Lightworks. The video goes up, the sound doesn't. Don't understand that.
I will say this too, which is nice. I'm looking on the Blaze in the Dark site. They do have a bunch of free downloadable stuff, like character creation help. It goes through, creating your character completely, and they do have an online on their site.
And they got a player's kit too.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, was the player's kit, and the player's kit is the character creation.
Yeah, it's simple rules overrule, which are always great. I'm actually going to throw that into the test game folder, because I still want to start that show up. It's just been like, I haven't been starting any kind of show up. So
yeah.
Is this a chapter?
I don't know if that's a chapter book or not. It's just the world of reading, it says on it. Well, I'll be done soon, so go ahead and run downstairs. But anyway, other places to reach us, discussingtabletop@yahoo.com. On my Discord, anyway, like either directly on the Discord or messaging either of us directly, you'll find us both in that Discord easily, that you can direct message us or not. And the same for Twitch. You can add us or direct message us on Twitch too. So, yeah, Blades in the Dark I didn't have, at least in here before. Blades in the Dark. Now it is in the list of test games. Try it at some point in time.
Woot.
Neat. So,
yeah.
anyway, I guess that's it for today, probably.
Yeah, we'll see everyone tomorrow for our bi-weekly game, Grinding Gears, which I run.
No.
We will see if they get into the second part of the adventure.
We're close to it, but we'll see if it actually happens.
Depending on what they decide to actually do. Because right now we left off, we're going back to town to do some more investigations.
See, it was back in like 2017 that Blades in the Dark was released, I think. That's why I'm forgetting the crap out of it.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It has been quite a while since we talked about it. But anyway, so everybody out there, I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. We will be back tomorrow for Grinding Gears, as Joe said, and I'll be around Monday for probably some game streaming. And then if you're looking for more tabletop stuff, Records of Evil, Legacies of Kain, Children of Wrath, all should be next week. All on schedule. So, you have yourselves a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.